Success is never an accident. It doesn't happen just because you hope for it, or because you talk about it, or even because you dream of it. Success is built step by step with a steady hand and a focused heart, and the material that builds it, the very bricks that hold it together, is discipline. Think about it. Everyone has goals. Everyone has dreams. But the difference between those who live their dreams and those who just keep talking about them is discipline. Goals set the direction, but discipline is what keeps you walking that road when it gets long, when it gets tiring, when it doesn't feel exciting anymore. Discipline is the bridge that takes you from where you are to where you want to be. You see, desire gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Without discipline, desire fades. Without discipline, goals remain wishes. Without discipline, your potential never becomes performance. And that's why discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It's you telling yourself, I am worth the effort. My goals are worth the sacrifice. My future is worth the work. Discipline doesn't have to be harsh. It doesn't have to be cruel. It simply means choosing what matters most over what feels easiest right now. It's getting up early when the bed feels warm. It's saying no to distractions when they come calling. It's doing the small things consistently, because small disciplines repeated every day create big results over time. The truth is, success is not built in a single day, but it is built daily. Discipline is not about one great act of willpower, but about 1,000 small decisions stacked one upon another. And every time you practice discipline, you're laying down another stone on the bridge between goals and success. Now, let's be honest. Discipline is not always fun. It rarely feels glamorous. Sometimes it feels like no one notices, no one claps, no one cares. But discipline is like planting seeds in the ground. You don't see the harvest overnight, but if you stay faithful, if you stay consistent, one day the fruit will appear. And on that day, you'll realize that every act of discipline was worth it. The good news is discipline is something anyone can learn. You don't have to be born with it. You don't need special talent for it. You just need to start small. Keep promises to yourself and build momentum one step at a time. The first step may feel difficult, but the more you practice, the stronger your discipline becomes. So the question is simple. Are you willing to cross the bridge? Because on one side of the bridge are your dreams, your hopes, your goals, and on the other side is success, achievement, fulfillment. The bridge is discipline. Walk it every day. And if you do, success won't just be possible, it will be inevitable. Discipline is the bridge between goals and success. And when you understand this truth deeply, it can change the way you live every single day. Goals are wonderful. They give you direction. They show you what is possible. They give you something to aim for. But a goal by itself is like a map without a traveler. It sits there waiting, and it never moves on its own. The only thing that moves you from where you are to where you want to be is discipline, because discipline is action. Discipline is the choice to keep walking even when the road is long. Discipline is the steady hand that builds brick after brick until the bridge is complete. Without discipline, your goals remain ideas floating in your mind. But with discipline, those same ideas take shape. They become a reality that you can touch and feel, because discipline transforms intention into achievement. Think about how many people talk about their dreams. How many people say they want to get healthier, start a business, learn a new skill, or change their life, and yet only a few ever do, and the difference is never just talent. It is not always about intelligence. It is not even luck. The difference is discipline, the ability to do the things that must be done, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline does not wait for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. Discipline acts even when it is uncomfortable, because discipline understands that comfort today can cost you success tomorrow. A person with goals but no discipline ends up with frustration, regret, and excuses. But a person with discipline, even with small goals, moves forward step by step, and soon enough the results start to appear. Discipline is not dramatic. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. It works quietly, but it works powerfully. Waking up early when you want to sleep longer, saying no to distractions when they call your name, choosing to practice when no one is watching. These are not glamorous actions, but they are the very actions that build the bridge. Every day you practice discipline, you are laying another stone, making the bridge stronger, making it more solid, and before you know it, you are standing on the other side, looking back and realizing that your success was built not in a single moment, but in the daily practice of discipline. Imagine two people with the same dream, the same goal. Maybe they both want to run a marathon or start a business or build financial freedom. One of them relies only on motivation. They feel inspired for a few days. They take a few steps, but then the energy fades, the excitement dies, and they stop. The other one practices discipline. They train even when it rains. They save money even when it is hard. They work on their idea when everyone else is relaxing, and little by little their bridge grows stronger. When the day of achievement finally arrives, the difference is clear. One person is still dreaming about it, the other has done it, and it all comes down to discipline. The beauty of discipline is that it is not reserved for a chosen few. It is not about being special. It is not about having everything figured out. It is about choosing to show up every day. It is about making small commitments and keeping them. It is about building trust with yourself. When you practice discipline, you are proving to yourself that you can be counted on. You are building a relationship with yourself where your word means something. And when you learn to trust yourself in this way, you can accomplish almost anything. Goals are powerful, but without the bridge of discipline, they stay on the other side, out of reach, like a city across the river that you can see but never touch. And the only way across is the bridge you build daily with discipline. Desire gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. And this is one of the most important truths when it comes to achieving anything worthwhile. Desire is the spark. It is that sudden rush of energy. When you think about what you want, it is the vision that excites you, the picture in your mind of a better future, and it feels powerful in the beginning. You might feel unstoppable when the desire is fresh. You make plans, you set goals, you tell yourself this is the time, this is the year, this is the moment, but desire alone was never meant to carry you the entire journey. Desire is a beautiful beginning, but it is fragile because desire is connected to emotion, and emotions change, they rise and fall, they burn bright and then fade away. And when the desire fades, what keeps you moving is discipline. Think of how many times people start something with enthusiasm. Someone joins the gym in January with excitement, they buy the clothes, they pay for the membership, they go for a few weeks, and then slowly the energy fades, the desire weakens, and before long they stop going. The same happens when someone starts a new project. They are thrilled at first, the idea seems exciting, but the moment the work gets tough, the moment progress is slow, they lose interest. What they lacked was not desire, because they had plenty of that at the start. Well, what they lacked was discipline, the steady commitment to keep going when the feelings are no longer there. Discipline steps in where desire runs out. Discipline is the muscle that takes over when motivation is tired. Discipline does not rely on mood. It does not depend on the excitement of the moment. It is not swayed by how you feel when the alarm goes off or when the work feels heavy. Discipline says, do it anyway, keep moving, keep building, because the goal is worth more than temporary comfort. Desire says, I want to. Discipline says, I will. Desire says, I feel like it. Discipline says, I choose to. Desire is passion. Discipline is perseverance, and the two together are powerful. But if you only have one, it must be discipline, because discipline can carry you when desire is nowhere to be found. Think about an athlete training for a championship. At the beginning, the desire is strong, the vision of victory is clear, and it fuels their training. But as the weeks go on, the training gets harder, the body aches, fatigue sets in, and the thrill of the goal feels distant. In those moments, desire is not enough. What keeps the athlete going is discipline, the daily practice, the structured routine, the decision to keep showing up regardless of how they feel. Without discipline, even the most talented athlete would quit before the finish line. But with discipline, even someone with modest talent can achieve great things because they keep moving forward when others stop. The same principle applies to every area of life. Desire may inspire you to start reading books, but discipline is what keeps you opening the pages every day until your mind grows sharper. Desire may push you to start saving money, but discipline is what makes you consistently put something aside week after week until you reach financial freedom. Desire may lead you to start a new skill, but discipline is what makes you practice long after the novelty wears off until you become excellent. Desire may bring people to the starting line, but discipline is what brings them to the finish line. It is also important to realize that discipline grows stronger the more you practice it. The first time you choose discipline over comfort, it may feel difficult. It may feel like you are pushing against yourself, but over time, discipline becomes a habit, and habits are stronger than fleeting desires. Desire is like the wind. It comes and goes. But discipline is like the roots of a tree, deep and steady, holding you in place through the storms. Once discipline becomes part of who you are, You no longer need to rely on desire alone to move forward, because you have built within yourself the ability to act consistently no matter how you feel. Small daily disciplines create big results. And this truth is often overlooked because people believe success must come from one massive action, one breakthrough, one lucky opportunity, but that is rarely the case. Success is not built in a single moment. It is built through consistent effort, through the little things done right day after day, even when they seem too small to matter. One choice by itself may not look significant. One small habit may not appear life-changing, but when those small actions are repeated over time, they accumulate, they compound, and eventually they create results so big that others call them success. The secret is that it was never about one giant leap. It was always about small daily steps. Think of a tree. When you plant the seed, nothing seems to happen at first. You water it, you care for it, and for days, weeks, sometimes months, it appears as if there is no progress at all. But underground, the roots are growing, the foundation is being built, and eventually a sprout breaks through the soil. That sprout grows slowly but steadily until one day it becomes a tree strong enough to give shade, fruit, and shelter. The growth of the tree is no miracle of a single day. It is the result of small daily disciplines, the watering, the sunlight, the care, repeated over and over. The same is true for success in life. It grows from the invisible work, the consistent choices, the small disciplines practiced daily. People often underestimate the power of daily disciplines because they are so simple. Waking up a little earlier, reading a few pages every day, exercising for half an hour, saving a small amount of money, practicing a skill for a short period, these actions do not seem to make a huge difference in the moment, but over time, they shape your character, your knowledge, your health, and your future. Missing one day may not hurt, but missing every day builds a habit of neglect, while practicing discipline daily builds momentum in the other direction. It is not the one workout that makes you strong, it is the hundreds done consistently. It is not the one meal that makes you healthy, it is the pattern of eating well every day. It is not one book that makes you wise, it is the habit of reading continuously that sharpens your mind. The challenge is that daily disciplines often feel too small to celebrate, and because they are small, people are tempted to ignore them. It feels easier to delay, to tell yourself it doesn't matter if you skip just this once, but success is built on the understanding that every choice adds up. Every time you practice discipline, you are strengthening your future, and every time you neglect it, you are weakening your foundation. The little things matter because they set the tone for the big things. If you can be faithful in the small disciplines, you prepare yourself for the greater opportunities that will come. Consider someone who wants to build financial freedom. They might feel that saving a few dollars a day is too small to make a difference, but over years of consistency, those savings grow, investments compound, and what once looked like tiny amounts becomes significant wealth. Or think of someone who wants to master a skill like playing an instrument. It is not hours of random practice once in a while that creates mastery. It is daily discipline, even if only for 20 minutes, because consistency creates mastery. In relationships too, it is not one grand gesture that builds trust, but daily acts of kindness, daily patience, daily attention, and over time these small disciplines build strong bonds. The key is to recognize that greatness is hidden inside the small things repeated faithfully. Success is the sum of disciplines practiced day in and day out. And though others may not see your effort in the beginning, though results may be invisible at first, eventually the accumulation of small daily actions creates a reality that is undeniable. Every great achievement you see in others, whether in business, health, personal growth, or relationships, was built through small disciplines long before the success became visible to the world. Discipline is self-respect in action, because every time you choose discipline, you are telling yourself that your future matters, your goals matter, and you matter. When you keep promises to yourself, you are building trust with yourself in the same way you build trust with another person. Imagine if someone you cared about made promises to you and broke them again and again. Eventually, you would lose faith in their words. The same happens inside when you set goals, when you say you will do something and then ignore it. Each broken promise weakens your self-respect. Each act of neglect chips away at your confidence. But when you practice discipline, you prove to yourself that you can be counted on, and that is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect. It is easy to respect others, to admire their achievements, to look up to their success, but the foundation of a strong life is learning to respect yourself enough to do what needs to be done. Discipline is not punishment. It is not about being harsh. It is about valuing yourself enough to make decisions that serve your highest good. When you wake up early to pursue your work, when you say no to distractions, when you follow through on commitments, you are treating your own future with dignity. You are saying, I believe in myself enough to put in the work. I believe in my future enough to sacrifice comfort today. I believe in my worth enough to practice discipline. Think about how often people look for validation from outside sources. They wait for applause. They wait for recognition. They want others to notice their effort. But the most important validation comes from within. When you practice discipline, you do not need anyone else to cheer for you because you know deep inside that you are keeping your word. That inner respect grows into confidence, and that confidence fuels everything else you do. Confidence is not built on pretending. It is not built on appearances. It is built on discipline, on knowing that you are reliable, that you are the kind of person who follows through. Discipline is also a way of protecting your own dreams. Without discipline, you are vulnerable to distractions, to laziness, to the opinions of others. But with discipline, you create boundaries that guard your goals. You are no longer easily swayed because you know what matters and you act on it daily. That is self-respect in action, the refusal to allow your own potential to be wasted, the refusal to allow excuses to control your future. When you respect yourself, you cannot treat your own time carelessly. You cannot ignore your opportunities. You cannot trade long-term growth for short-term comfort. Discipline becomes the language of self-respect, and every choice you make is either strengthening or weakening that respect. Consider someone who wants to change their health. If they keep telling themselves they will eat better, they will exercise, they will take care of themselves, but never follow through, deep inside they lose respect for their own words. But if they practice discipline, even in small steps, choosing better meals, showing up for workouts, staying consistent, they begin to feel proud of themselves, not because of what anyone else says, but because they know they are honoring their own commitments. That pride is self-respect, and it grows stronger with every act of discipline. The same applies in careers, in finances, in relationships, in personal growth. Every time you follow through, you are strengthening your inner respect. The truth is, life will always test your discipline. There will always be easier options, temptations, and shortcuts. But when you choose discipline, you are not just choosing success, you are choosing self-respect. You are declaring that your time is too valuable to waste, that your word is too important to break, that your dreams are too meaningful to neglect. Discipline is not just about what you achieve, it is about who you become. And who you become is always tied to the level of respect you show yourself through your daily choices. Anyone can learn discipline because discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you practice, something you train, something you build step by step. Too many people believe that discipline belongs only to the strong, the talented, or the naturally motivated, but that is not true. Discipline is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. At first, it may feel difficult, even unnatural, but the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. No one begins with perfect discipline. They begin with small steps, small commitments, small promises kept to themselves. And over time, those small acts of discipline grow into habits that shape their entire life. The idea that some people just have it and others don't is a myth. Look at anyone who has achieved greatness in any field. Athletes, artists, leaders, entrepreneurs, they did not start out with unshakable discipline. What they did was decide to train themselves in it. They decided to build routines. They decided to stay consistent. They decided to practice discipline even when it was uncomfortable. Each repetition made them stronger. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, practicing discipline builds strength of character. And with enough practice, it becomes part of who you are. The good news is that anyone can start, no matter where they are today. It is important to understand that learning discipline does not mean waiting until you feel ready, because the feeling of readiness may never come. It means starting with what you can control right now. If you cannot commit to big changes, commit to small ones. Wake up 10 minutes earlier, read a few pages every day, choose one small habit and practice it daily. That one small act may not seem like much, but it teaches your mind and body to follow through. It builds the foundation. From there, you add another habit, then another, and soon discipline becomes second nature. The process is simple, but it requires patience and persistence. Discipline also grows when you shift the way you see yourself. If you tell yourself you are undisciplined, lazy, or inconsistent, you reinforce that identity and your actions follow. But if you begin to say, I am learning discipline, I am training myself, I am building consistency, You start to take actions that match that identity. Over time, your actions reshape the way you see yourself, and your self-image strengthens your discipline. It is not about perfection. It is about progress, about proving to yourself day after day that you can grow stronger in discipline. Think of how children learn. A child does not start by running, they start by crawling, then standing, then taking small steps, and eventually walking becomes natural. Discipline works the same way. You may stumble in the beginning, you may fall back into old habits, but each time you get up and try again, you are teaching yourself persistence. Eventually, the steps of discipline become natural, automatic, and you no longer need to force yourself because it has become who you are. That is the beauty of discipline. It may be hard in the beginning, but it becomes easier the more you practice it. Another key to learning discipline is accountability. Sometimes it helps to create systems that make discipline easier, such as setting reminders, creating routines, or even sharing your goals with someone who can hold you accountable. These tools do not replace discipline, but they help strengthen it until it becomes solid enough to stand on its own. Over time, as your habits become more consistent, you begin to rely less on external accountability and more on your own inner drive. That is when discipline becomes a part of your character, something that no one can take away from you. The truth is, discipline is not about being extraordinary. It is about doing ordinary things consistently. It is not about giant leaps. It is about steady steps. Anyone who is willing to learn can master it, because discipline is not reserved for the gifted. It is available to anyone who is willing to put in the effort. Each person has the ability to practice it, to strengthen it, and to use it as the foundation for achieving their goals. All it takes is the decision to begin and the willingness to keep going until discipline becomes part of your nature.